All right, y'all ready to go ahead and get started? Dallas, would you do it?
Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you every day for giving us another day to live here in this county and to enjoy the life that we have here and the freedoms we have here. Thank you that you guided us here today safely. Give us the opportunity to discuss the business for our citizens and help us, guide us, give us wisdom, lead us in the actions that we take. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would make a motion that the agenda be approved as is. All in favor? Aye. Which brings us to the resolution authorizing the advertisement of the rollback rate. I was very disappointed in the rollback rate this year. And we usually lose $30,000 to $40,000 on these things. But, yeah, we're pushing $300,000 on this. And I don't understand that. Is there not?
No, I don't either, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, the rollback rate, what, 6.617? Is there not some figure between 6.983 and 6.617 that would have been sort of neutral, you know?
Which is the point of the...
Which is the whole point. How did we have to go back to where we're losing $300,000?
Modern math.
This form,
Now, I'm not blaming Sandy, man.
no, I'm not taking it that way, but this form has all the formulas. Sorry. I do the best I can. This form has all the formulas. All I do is plug in the numbers. This is from the Department of Revenue, and it calculates and...
That's our problem.
It's interesting to me that I'm not aware that we've ever had that number be positive.
Actually, Sandy and I were having that conversation, and it has been a positive number before. I don't know that it has been for us, but it has.
I certainly
Yeah.
hope it does.
But I'm used to negative 30 and negative 40. I'm not used to negative 300,000. And that just doesn't compute for me.
And I talked to Teresa. We also have some, what they call values that are values in dispute, which is still some conversations with some property owners that those assessments may change.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty sizable, and the values in dispute for 2000, or for this digest, were about almost $12 million are the values in dispute. So depending on how those are settled,
Yeah.
they're not going to go
Well, they're
even
not
higher.
going up.
They're not going up, but they may come down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So what are you
Which
telling me? That makes it worse.
would make
It makes it worse.
Shortfall worse, not better.
Right.
and there is no way, Trina Henlon with the Board of Education, and I both talked about this a couple of times, there's no way that that value in dispute amount can be reflected on this rollback form.
Well,
Which to me isn't fair. But
it looks like the net digest is only up around 4 million. And if there's 12 million in dispute, you know, that, we could actually have a situation where even without the rollback, we're losing money.
Well, I don't know where you get 4 million, Charlie. I'm
Well,
not sure either.
And then maybe I'm reading it wrong, but the adjusted net digest is 1,202,000,000 over here. Let's say 203 million. For 16, for 17, it's 1,225,500,000.
Which is 23, if I read. 23?
look at the
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm a digit off. Okay.
Okay.
I feel better about that, but that still doesn't change our situation.
Well, we heard from our auditor that we're entering the range, having a contingency fund 3.2 months of operating expenses and how positive that was, and the range was 3 to 6 months. So we still need to bump that, in my opinion. I might shoot for about 4.5 months, right in the middle of that range. So we've got that facing. We've got a bridge on Lower Carter K Road that we're going to have to replace, and we don't know how we're going to do that yet, or at least I'm not aware of what the plan is for that yet. And Jim, am I correct? There's
Nothing thus far.
no funding has been discovered to help with that project.
Chairman Ware has sent a letter to the commissioner.
We may get some, but I don't see us getting significant. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, in any event, though, that is a capital project somehow.
But in the absence of a SPLOST or some conventional capital funding mechanism, what are we left with?
Well, let me throw another thought along that line. I don't know when I got this or when this was printed, but it's a list of all of our buildings and assets for the county. I don't know what's on there, 50 or 40 something. I looked at it. We have 9 buildings that are more than 40 years old. Some of them obviously older. Go back into the 40s, 1940s, and we're not talking about the Tabor House. I think that's not really there. But anyway, at least 2 of them, which Tabor House, I think, and Watkins House are the ones that are over 75 years old. There's none of our buildings in this county less than 8 years old, so they're getting up there. So one thought I have, beats this dead horse again, is that somehow we could take some of, if we were to not do the rollback, we're talking, if I calculate it right, the equivalent of 0.45 mils is what if we don't do the rollback, it would be the equivalent of raising taxes that much. That means the $448,000, which is that right? Am I reading right? 0.45, almost a half mil.
I would question your logic that it's raising the millage. It's raising revenue, but it's not raising the millage.
The equivalent of
The tax rate is what we're talking
I'm
about.
saying an equivalent of
That many mills.
of a 0.5 mil increase is what you get going from the rollback to no rollback. You benefit that much.
Because of the increased tax base value.
Right, keeping
Not
the
because
same
of the-
millage rate.
Yes. that's key.
Absolutely, keeping the same millage rate,
Stay
but
clear.
because of the increased.
Well, I understand that the state of Georgia requires that we call it a tax hike if we keep the same millage rate, but I would argue that the tax rate stays the same.
I would agree with that,
The additional revenue
Charlie.
that you're talking about is being generated primarily from new homes that are being constructed in the area and some appraisals that are going up, but not a tax rate.
I agree with that 100%, Charlie, absolutely. What is the benefit of trying to build our tax digest if we get no benefit from it? That doesn't seem logical to me, that we have more of a tax digest, we actually end up having more people, we have more needs for services. It seems to me that those two ought to go together. And when you roll back to the point where you don't get it, that doesn't make any logic to me.
It's another one of those situations where a few bad apples spoil it for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I.
We had some counties a number of years ago that were just growing great guns, and I mean way more than what we're talking about here, just really, and they just kept taking the extra revenue and kept taking it, and never would roll taxes back, and so we ended up with the taxpayers' bill of rights. And although that certainly is a good idea, I think there's unintended consequences to everything. The unintended consequences are falling on the smaller counties where we wind up with situations like this. And I wouldn't even mind if the calculation was a little bit more relevant. I'm back to, the rollback rate 6.617, maybe 6.717 would be a good rollback rate, something that's fairly neutral, but I think the state needs to re-examine their formulas.
This is what happens when you take lawyers and put them in government representative positions and they try to do math. Okay.
Y'all are slipping on your motor vehicles, so it's going to continue to go down.
Well, I have two questions about that.
That's because of that.
The TAVT
Your
is
percentage is decreasing.
Let me ask this question along with that over here, looking at this. I thought since we changed our timber ordinance, we were going to pick up a significant amount of timber. I don't see it, not a significant amount. It's not gone up in 2016, in fact it was low. We're not dealing with it that much more. It's less in 2017 than it was in 2015. And we're supposed to be collecting. The problem we said was, when we enacted that ordinance, that we're not collecting the tax on the harvest. So what's wrong? Are they not harvesting, or are we not recording them?
Well, that ordinance was changed late in 16, if memory serves. We'd have to look back, so I'm not sure 16 would reflect that change really much. Am I wrong?
That's a question I don't know.
I'm thinking it's in the fall.
I think I've had this discussion with
I'd
Becky.
have to look.
I don't remember the dates, Travis, but I had this discussion with Becky, asking her, and she said, I can't explain it, because she felt like it should have gone up more than it is.
It's worth looking at when that.
But that's just another thing when I'm looking at the numbers that I see. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, the only negative that I see of not rolling it, of leaving it at the same millage rate, is that we are forced to call that a tax increase in the paper, in the advertisement. We're going to take a public harassment about that. That's just life, and being elected officials, that affects your campaign, that affects those things, and I understand that. But I just don't think we would be being careful about what we do to keep ourselves on a position where we want to be and improve it by losing $300,000 from where we were the year before. I can't make myself accept that.
Let's say another variable we need to keep in mind. We've been able to refund some bonds and have that money available to do some catch-up in some departments that have been neglected and so forth. But we don't have that opportunity moving forward.
No. That was the low-hanging fruit, basically.
It was.
We were able to take advantage of
We
it.
did take advantage, and we did, I think, some good investments
Yes.
with that. But
Yes.
we can't get in the mindset that that will continue because it's not available.
It is not. I don't think, have we lost any of the other, like the payment in lieu of taxes? Is there anything else that we're losing? Well, that looked like it went up.
It goes up a little bit every year, or it has for the last.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The payments, what do you call it on here?
It's not on here. Well, that flip,
Is that part of the state of Georgia Forest Land
State of
System?
Georgia Forest Land Assistance Grant Program.
I called it
Flip.
payment in
Bill.
Bill.
Payment in lieu of
Payment in
taxes.
lieu of taxes. We're getting cheated in terms of revenue from federal lands, basically. We're not getting what we would get if that were private lands by any means. But we don't have to provide a service, so I understand that.
Well, there was a proposal earlier that would have cut this substantially.
A federal-
Unfortunately, they backed off on
Yeah,
that. but
exactly.
We never know when that's going to be.
No, that's a year to
Ready to
year.
say it again.
Exactly. And like David said, the motor vehicles is not going to get better for a while.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, that's the TAVT problem. Now, will we be able to pick up the amount, when do we pick up the amount that goes to the school board on that? Is it coming next year?
Amount to the school board.
Oh, where we over?
We're still paying on that?
Yeah, how long?
I asked Becky about that a couple of weeks or so ago. We still got a couple of years left.
Do we? Okay, so we're just where we're at on that, the second, okay.
That's where we are. We still got a couple of years left.
Because that would be nice to kick that back in, please. Okay.
And we'll be able to do that, but not for 18. Well, 18 and 19's out. For 20, that'll no longer
I
be.
didn't think it was
The
that
Board of
long out.
Education, Board of Education did agree to increase the payment for the school resource officers from $105,000 to $150,000.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
there was an extra budget there. Is this number here on motor vehicles, Sandy, is this a, what do I want to call it, a net kind of number estimate or actual number?
That's the gross, that's the gross, and then if there are any exemptions where motor vehicles are concerned, they're taken into account on the,
Down on the exemption line?
right, on the exemption line.
So that number 20, where is it, 27,
7, 8, 14.
814? So that number is
It's a gross
a
number.
real, but it's a,
Mhm.
what I'm trying to ask is that part of that number doesn't go anywhere else except to us.
Right.
Okay. Because we're collecting more than that. Some of it goes to the city and some goes to the school. Okay, so this is, you call it gross, but it's really net to the county, minus,
Well, no,
minus
this,
exemption.
this is countywide. These numbers are countywide.
What does that mean?
It means the school and all
Does
that.
that
Yeah,
number include
everything's
school and city?
It includes anything that we'll collect for the Board of Education, City of LJ, City of East Columbia.
No. Then how can you figure our millage rate and come up with a net taxes using that number?
Well, it wouldn't change, millage rate wouldn't change that number.
Yeah. I didn't say millage, the actual taxes levied would change.
Well, the gross
If
number,
that's a gross number up there, isn't the net taxes levied a gross number?
the gross number, I believe, would be the same for us and Board of Education, wouldn't it?
Right.
And then we'll just apply
On
our
the-
respective
On the Board of
tax
Education,
rates against it.
on the Board of Education's rollback form, all of their numbers are the same until you get down to the exemptions and the, their calculations down toward the bottom of that rollback sheet. They use the same digest numbers that we do.
I guess I hear that, but I'm just thinking about what is the calculation that comes out with the line called net taxes levied, which is a county number. Not a city, not a school, that's a county.
That's our.
8,108,000 for 2017, if it's a roll.
That's our rollback.
That is county revenue based upon a gross number or a digest number that includes school and,
It's based on that net number of 1,225,472,878.
Yeah, and that digest number is such number, it's what the county decides to apply their millage rate to. So the school board uses that number, but it's not going to enter into your calculations as far as your millage rate, nor as to your taxes levied.
only if, as an example, the motor vehicle line includes money we don't get.
The motor vehicle line includes the money that we don't get.
So
considered county portion, even though it's, you know, a portion, that portion is paid out to the BOE as payback. You know, it's included in that county portion because it technically is a county portion. It's just paid back to them. Is that what you're asking? I don't know.
No, it has nothing to do with the correction of our
Alice
overcollection.
would prefer to be using a net number there, and I see the law.
That's what I'm trying to understand, is whether is that really, I don't know how the math works. But all in all, two things. One, I think I have no problem trying to say that we need to continue to provide the services and more of the services next year and this year that we've been doing. I don't want to cut that. And if we do a rollback, I feel like we'll be cutting it. And I don't think that's the best thing for us to do. Like you said, Travis, we're not going to have the luxury of having our refunded money available. So it's actually going to be a tighter budget year
It will.
coming up than.
We have to come up with capital expenditure funds in different mechanisms.
And we're gonna have to cut back significantly, we can't continue.
No.
But we knew that, we were catching up.
Yeah,
That's not
that was
necessarily
not
a
being,
norm for us.
yeah, that's not being caught off guard. That was the way it was going to be.
But again, it's capital.
But to ignore that would be,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sandy, what is this? I see couple of notes out here to the right on this page. When I printed it, it says lost 2,888,020.
We have to roll back for what we collect in lost, in local option sales tax. We have to roll back for that. Now, we have the option,
what does that
What
mean?
does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
we have to take this number, like if our budget was $10 million, we have to deduct the 2 million plus from that 10 million. It's hard to explain, but we
You
have.
sound like JC.
I mean, it really is, it's hard to explain, and I knew I'd probably get this question, and I thought, okay, how am I gonna explain this? But we have to roll back for what we collect in local option sales tax. It's almost like we're able to kind of refund that money to the taxpayers.
The purpose of the local option sales tax initially, when it was first put into place, was to shift some of the burden from the property taxes and property owners onto a consumable. And so the entire thrust of the local option sales tax is to reduce property taxes by proportional amount.
So,
So we have to reduce by that.
I'm going to summarize my understanding, and you tell me if I'm right. We have to include our anticipated local option sales tax revenue in the calculations for the rollback rate.
This is not anticipated. This is an actual number from 2016.
All right, so an actual number has to be included in the overall revenue in the rollback rate calculation.
Right.
It's a homeowner relief act is what it was technically. I mean, the only option is to no longer collect it, but it's like Charlotte said, it's just to provide, it's just to move it over into, it's really a relief, it's really.
Well, and it allows tourists to foot some of the bill instead of just property owners and residents.
But the law statute provides that you got whatever you collect in that, underneath that particular sales tax, you got to provide relief as far as the equitable taxes.
So the calculations take into account all tax revenue regardless of its source. Is that a fair statement?
The calculation.
For the rollback rate?
I cannot
There,
say yes or no. I have no way of understanding it.
But that's the question. And so, I mean,
there is one other tax revenue that we have the option of rolling back or not rolling back, and we don't roll that one back.
so TABT is included, yes or no? with the calculation,
Yes,
right? Local option sales tax is included, yes or no,
yes.
in the calculation. Property tax
Wait,
office.
before you ask.
That's what I'm hearing.
It's rolled back, so it's not part of the net millage.
But in terms of the calculation,
In terms of the calculation, the only,
No, what I'm saying is that you're not factoring in 2 million, almost $3 million.
if we did, basically in a nutshell, if we didn't get that $2.8 million, our millage rate would have to be the 9.334. And, you know, that's,
And then is it true, most of that is designated for debt service?
not lost.
No.
Local option sales tax goes into the general fund.
but again, that's probably a gross figure because that's distributed to LGDs,
No,
You do have the option of renegotiating that.
this is
Portion,
county
that's
only.
our portion.
that is net.
County only.
It's county only. I have to pull this table from the Department of Revenue every year to get those amounts.
Sandy, in that loss negotiate, it has to be
It is, and
negotiated
I think we're
every
going,
10 years.
and I think we're
And
going to be
you have-
negotiating in a couple of years. I'll check on that.
More like
later.
5 years still.
But they-
It was in, was it 2012?
Because he
That
did
it
the
was last
last.
negotiated,
he
so
did
we've
the
got
last.
about 5 more years on.
But they have the option of opening those negotiations up sooner. If the two cities.
County has
Never have.
Yeah, the county has never really saw any encroachment on its percentage. It's always the two cities that have always been battling. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest it, to be perfectly honest with you. It may be historically, it may be beneficial to see what the previous percentage of the first loss was, and then I think it's been 3, if I'm not mistaken, and the second and third one. But it's always hovered around 70%, and I think.
We're at 75.
75, okay, see, so, yeah.
75,
That is
16, and
16 and
9.
nine.
Yeah,
The
so
two cities.
what happens is you may end up having to yield some of it to the cities, and that's not something I don't think you want to do at this point in time.
But if I were to just decide, I think I would prefer the
Current building.
current village rate, absolutely. Which is 6.983, right?
Yes.
And I know there's pros and cons for that. I fully recognize that. I personally think that's the prudent thing to do because we have less coming, like you said, we have less coming, we won't have anything coming from refunding. I'm going to harp every time we talk about budgets that we're going to
Aging infrastructure
Yeah, the aging infrastructure, and that doesn't include bridges and roads,
or swimming.
or parking lots,
Swimming
or
pool.
swimming pools, or all of those things. That's a long-term strategic thing that is tough to think about and tough to plan on an annual basis, an annual budget. It's difficult, but I think it's something we would be wise to consider somehow.
Well,
So that's just where I'm coming from.
I have the same dilemma that I think probably we all do. If I was a very disinterested party that's just walking down the street and somebody grabbed me and said, hey, come in here, take a look at these, it would be a real simple choice for me. I've just been so adamant about not raising taxes. And the ironic part is, I still don't think it would be rising taxes. But we have to claim
I
it.
don't want to ever call
But
it.
we'd have to claim it for that. It's just so hard for me to.
I will be happy to blame the state for having to use those words. I mean, that's the way it is.
I think you're
I've
exactly.
never known you to do that before.
And I hate politicians that do that and blame the past administration. No.
Mark, I think we can get a headline, State of Georgia raises Gilmer State. It's just gonna be so difficult for me to accept this,
But, I agree, Charlie.
But we also have to look at the reality of our budget and the reality of the expenditures, capital and otherwise, we know on the horizon. Our insurance costs keep escalating to stay competitive for our
Benefits.
employees, to try to retain employees, all that's increasing. How are we supposed to conduct the business of the county with $300,000 less in light of all this?
And with growth comes cost. Our digest is growing, and that's good news, but our services will have to keep up with it. And I don't know how to not do that.
Charlie and I both were kind of naive on this when we ran for office. We both were expand the tax digest.
I was just, yeah, I mean,
That was the solution to the problem.
ran-
Me too.
I actually ran ads saying we have to have growth, we have to expand the tax digest so that we can kind of spread this around.
And then you take it
lo
away.
and behold, doesn't work that way.
No, you take it away.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I believe I'm gonna have to come down and leave in the village rate where it is. Just know we want to know. And that's the way I'm gonna refer to it, an unchanged village rate.
And that's what it is. You can do all the math, and Sandy, you've done it, and I don't understand it, but I accept it, and it's there. It's not a, when you just have to have a formula to decide what your millage rate is, I don't like that. I'd rather make it and take it and own it myself, personally, rather than let the state do the calculation for me.
are we to the point where anybody would like to make a motion?
Well, for
Or
sake of
do we want to
discussion,
whine a little bit more first?
for sake of discussion, Charlie, I will make a motion that we do not use the rollback rate, but use the current rate from 6.983 millage. That would be my motion.
And
Which? That's enough.
that would be the third year in a row at that rate.
Second.
23rd.
Oh, yeah, right.
15,
You're right.
The third
16.
consecutive year of the same
With the
millage rate.
same millage rate, no change in the millage rate.
Could we amend the
Absolutely.
motion to reflect that? Would you be willing to do that?
I will amend my motion to say we keep the same millage rate that we've had for the past 2 years.
Thank you. And I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to tell you that I was really hoping that we could get a situation where there would be a motion in a second, and y'all could both say aye, and I could come in and say no. It wouldn't be the right thing to do. So, aye.
All right.
Sandy, you can do the math now.
Well, and it's a, anybody's, I know this isn't going to make it any easier, to swallow, but it's not, it's a value increase. I mean, it's an increase on the digest that causes, if anybody's, increases, it's because their property, their value increases.
And we, as commissioners, we don't set the value of the digest. That's outside our control.
I am going to make a suggestion that we actually pay for a reasonably sized ad in both of our media outlets with just a short, simple explanation that the state of Georgia requires us to advertise this and treat this as a tax increase, but we're just staying the same.
Don't they force us to the wording on the
Well,
ads.
we're gonna have to run the ad,
No,
so
he's
we're ready to
talking about it.
do
But an additional, and
I would
I'm
propose
more than
an
comfortable with
additional
that.
ad
I'm
with
very,
our explanation, because we can't put our explanation in the
No.
ad, that makes us run.
I'm very comfortable with that, yes.
And be specific about how much revenue will be lost.
Yes, yes.
I'm fine with that.
And, you know, I was a little upset before because we were gonna lose, what was it, 40,000, 40,000, I think, last year, but
Yeah,
$291,000 is just incredible amount.
yeah.
The Board of Education said that theirs had turned out that way as well.
That's half Jim's salary for next year.
I would take that a step further if part of me says I don't want to spend county funds in that advertising.
Okay.
I'll pay a third of the cost of it personally.
I'm in on that.
I could,
I don't really want to spend county money, but I'll pay for a third of that.
I mean,
I could do that too.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's just do it. It's really unfair to have to use the words that I think the state forces us to use and not give us an opportunity in that advertising to explain.
Paul Harvey needs to tell the rest of the story.
Yeah, that's a fact. There you go.
and I understand how all this came about, why,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the problem, it's one of these situations where there's just not a one solution fits all kind of thing. And that's where it came down. And for the rural counties, I mean, that, it just doesn't work for us.
Yeah, I encourage y'all to be really careful with that advertisement. There's a lot of activities going on with the state, but, it's
Sure,
sensitive.
Well, you advise us, we shouldn't do it.
No, I am be very careful with it. I mean, explain.
We need to explain the
versus
facts.
critiquing and laying blame
Name call.
are going to be two different things.
What I would propose is just the explanation that although we're advertising for a tax increase, the millage rate is in fact staying the same. And if we were to accept the rollback, it would cost us $291,000 in services and stuff. I'm not
I'd
looking
avoid using the word state if I could.
Okay.
David?
That's a good idea.
Statutory law, just, you know,
That's a good
address it
idea.
in a different way.
When was that rollback process enacted? You know?
Purdue was governor.
Oh, he was? Okay.
I don't remember the year.
Okay.
If it was when Purdue was in office, it probably would have been early 2005, 2006, somewhere in that area. Yeah,
It's well intended,
Yeah.
I understand, it is well intended.
There was abuse going on.
But
there should be three columns. One is, one is you adopt the rollback, one is you maintain the current, and then the other one is actually increase tax for the millage rate. And that's what it's lacking. It's got to be order, and it doesn't have a central ground.
well, they took action to rectify an abuse, and it did. But again, there were unintended consequences for the small counties where that abuse not only didn't exist, but couldn't exist because the growth rate wasn't there.
Yeah, I think it was the capital.
I was thinking Glenn,
Yeah.
One of them.
not to mention anybody specifically, but
But we as a small county, rural county particularly, become collateral damage.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Now, Kristen,
Okay.
we'll have to have the, three public hearings, because you can have two in the same day.
Make sure the ad says.
We can.
Absolutely, and y'all will see it.
We can't adopt ours until the Board of Education adopts theirs, so.
They met last night. I think what they built, that was their work session last night. I think they would announce on Thursday. So,
Do you know their intentions?
it's not been voted on, but I understand that they're going to be just slightly below their prior year military. They're not rolling back, but I think they'll be slightly. Lonnie, you were there? Were you there last night?
I was at the city council.
Mark? Isn't that what, am I explaining it correctly? Because I'm getting it secondhand.
Are they going with their rollback rate?
I think so.
That was what was indicated to me was the intention, but they may have had some discussion at the meeting last night to change
And
that.
I'm getting mine secondhand, so it may be accurate.
Are we ready to move on to 32? Well, I've seen the emails that, as I read it, describe the annexations as being city village down to the city limit sign. And I really had never paid attention to what the city limit sign was before, but I kind of went out and looked for it. It's quite a ways south of that intersection, which, appears to me, based on the documentation from the state when that was brought into the city and the placement of the city limit sign, it looks to me like that intersection would be in the city limits. Rather county. I don't know where that leaves us with DOT, but
Basically, with this map of what the changes they're talking about, I don't know that there's any, if I'm mistaken, let me know, but I don't think there's any of that that falls other than in the city limits right away. If I'm wrong, Jim or anybody help me.
I hadn't,
That's the map, and then all the words in the letter that Charlie got, talking about what was removed and what was redesignated and what was obliterated, they use the word, and intersection improvements and abandonment, they talk about it a whole bit. I need to know whether there's any of this discussion is outside the city's right of way, I guess. That's what I need to know.
well, we have always treated that section of 05, which is 382, as a state route. It's 1.4 miles. We measured that. And whether it was us or the city of Elgin, there's damage to guardrail that has not been repaired. If I were advising you, I would not accept this without certain improvements or repairs to infrastructure. There is one section of guardrail there that apparently there was an accident or whatever, but it's been basically obliterated. And DOT is aware of that. But we've always treated that section as state.
Do you mow it?
No,
the question I have is, can we
Maintain it
accept
anyway?
if it isn't, as I read the letter, it just specifies local government, right?
It used the words local.
It doesn't say city or county or whatever.
I'd have to reread it.
Local government.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word it always uses.
Now, I don't know if DOT submitted that to the city of LJ as well, or not, or if they're expecting you to carry it to the city of LJ.
The impression I have is that they're expecting us to sign it and send it back.
Yeah, I agree, Charlie.
But I don't know that
I would yield to the legal counsel. I don't know what jurisdiction the county would have if it's inside the city of Millage, the county can't
We have no interest.
accept.
Right, but again, I know where the annexation lines are. I'm not familiar with where the roundabout is to occur, and that's the,
Well,
Is it marked on that?
no, they don't
I
want
thought the
that.
roundabout was at the intersection of where, the green store was and,
It's actually south, the south side.
It's about a mile south from there.
Well, that's
It's not a mile.
Maybe a quarter.
I've already,
well, then, if it's south of there and it is directly on 382, the city doesn't own the right of way on both sides of the road.
does or does not?
It does,
And we
according to
have,
the legislation.
don't we have the conceptual plans or engineer drawings or something of it that shows exactly?
I've got a copy that I got when I went to the meeting.
Right.
But
And
based
they
on
have a one line as well.
annexation, it is in the city. And it may be just something the DOT is not
What's the
familiar with.
lighting company down there,
It's south, it's north of them.
It's north of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they annex both sides of that road all the way down.
If the lighting company's in the city, then
From
They're probably
the
not.
existing.
Now, the
No,
lighting company's
no,
not. See,
no.
what's happened is that all they annexed was the right of way so that they could
Yeah,
use it
see,
and be able to issue citations
Just
and
the road.
stuff.
they just went down the Rollback trails, and then they
Except,
came back and took Green's Country
Yeah.
Store.
Well, that's
They
because it
annexed
wouldn't
that.
have created an island. See, there's three reasons this was done. One was to stop the growth of East LJ. Those things, this annexation comes up and East LJ is no further away. So it was to stop that, to increase the commercial base for the city of LJ. And then if property owners aligned with that right of way, for instance, on 515, they could be annexed in.
yeah.
And with their surrounding property still remaining in county and it not creating an island, which would have been a violation of the annexation law.
so you got a narrow corridor that eliminates the
You
island.
got a finger
Where-
all the way down.
why was there two pieces of legislation? Do you know the history?
This one, if I'm not mistaken, fixes the little area in front of the shopping center, in front of the Walmart shopping center, because the annexation brought it all the way up, to, I think, East Hawaii Drive, and the city didn't like that.
Oh, okay.
Or East LA didn't like that, so they went back and fixed it, and now it comes up to right around the Valero, right in that area.
Yeah, okay. So it was to basically restructure what? Okay.
Yeah, so.
David, I'm asking the question, if the chairman sent a letter back advising DOT that we're not the proper local government to execute, I mean, there's no damage to that, then that would simply mean that they would have to,
Yeah,
Forward it to the
Go
city
back,
of
they
LA.
have to go to the city.
yeah, I think that's probably the proper course of action now. If this is in fact on 382 and it's slightly north of the lighting place, is this going to be surrounded by a city right of way? It's just to submit it back to the DOT with a copy of the legislative act.
There you go with reference.
And
both
just
of
show
them.
that, this property is no longer within the jurisdiction of the county. And just see if that, and then that may alleviate this and then it goes back over on the city. If
Well, I
nothing
don't-
else, it allows you to have answered it.
Is it fair and okay to copy the city on what we're doing? We don't want to
Oh, absolutely.
blindside it.
No, I think that's proven advice.
So
So
include them in there.
that raises another issue. We were asked to pay the utility bills and so forth for the lighting. and-
That's what, yeah, and that's in this thing here.
Is
It
that-
talks about,
If that's
You will
outside of jurisdiction, is that,
You would no longer have the responsibility, it'd be their responsibility.
have we signed
Yeah.
the paperwork?
Oh, yeah, that was way back.
So that's,
So since we've already signed and sent that in months ago, is there any way we can?
Doesn't this supplement it though? This actually formalizes it into more,
this is more specific project. This is a very specific project order.
All I'm saying is, should that letter address that as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'll send a letter to you first, to look it over before I send
Okay. But I do agree with Dallas that he's to the mayor.
In fact, is there there's nothing here that hits East Alabama? Are we sure
Oh,
of that?
absolutely. No, it's sensitive area.
All right.
It was a preemptive strike.
Yeah, East LJ's area of
Oh,
road is down
no.
Ella Road and it's getting ready to come out
No,
on
yeah,
Yukon.
right, no, that's not what I meant. I meant, is there any changes that the DOT is looking at that also would impact East Alabama at all? Okay. Just to clarify that. Now, I'm in agreement that we send a letter to the state in response to this, saying that based upon that legislation, we are assuming no responsibility that it falls under the city. That's what I see. And that's something you can do. So we don't do any action to it.
It's either in the jurisdiction or it's not.
The only thing you may wish to do is table it. Since it is an agenda.
It is.
It's on there, it remains on the agenda. So just move it to unfinished business at the fall of the meeting, but I think probably goes back to table it, and then if something happens, to bring it back up later.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any further discussion on that?
So would you like a motion, David, to table that? Is that what you're saying? Well, I would make a motion then to table the item 2 under new business for
I second that. All in favor? Aye.
You're off the hook, Jim.
Thank you.
For today.
Well,
For today.
okay, any citizens speak? If not, I would make a motion that we go into executive session with no anticipated action, and Marcus will be for personnel. We can I get a second?
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Forgot we're still.
Aye.
We'll talk.
Just as a point of information, before you all go into executive session, James Holloway and I are doing, we're going to start doing a punch list on the Atlanta Gas Light extension, Clear Creek and Yukon. If you have any concerns that have been expressed, we were told last week that by Friday, they will have completed major construction. So we want to be sure that we go through and do our due diligence to be sure that they've restored everything that they should restore.
I've had no issues at all.
Have you had